So a number of years ago, I made the life-changing decision to move from being an employee to starting a consulting business and being my own boss. And thinking back, I think that's the best thing that ever happened to me. And I'm, forever grateful for the circumstances in my life at the time that conspired to bring me in such a situation where I needed to make this decision. Now, I get asked a lot if, is it a good idea to move from permanent employment to contracting or consulting? What are the pluses and minuses? What are the, red flags to avoid? And, what are the benefits? So the way I approach this is just to say, so, looking, in hindsight, consulting is not for everybody. I mean, let me rephrase that. Not being an employee is not for everybody. So basically, there are people in this world who are just comfortable with, some security, knowing that their salary is going to, reach their banking account, every month on a certain date, and they have reliable, teams around them. It's the same type of routine from day to day, or some sort of patterns that they would have in their professional life. And they're comfortable with that, and they probably would never think that living in a circumstance where the day-to-day is unknown, you will not know exactly where your next contract is going to come from. So basically, living in certainty would not be something that would feel comfortable for these people, and that's okay. And it's it's part of life. We are all different. Now, the other category of people are people who are looking for adventure, they are curious, keen to take a chance, wanting more from life. And I guess my point is, yes, consulting is a good option for this sort of personality trait that these people have. But I would say consulting, to start with, consulting is only the great option for you if you see it as a stepping stone for something much greater, much better. What do I mean by that? Well, what I mean to say is that consulting, in the essence of it is basically you are working for clients. Majority of time would be the same sort of institutions you would perform work for that you would probably do in an employee capacity if you had the same role offered as a permanent role. So in essence, the difference is that if you wanted to take the role, you do. If you didn't want to take it, you don't. So you have freedom on what day rates you want to go in and do the work, and obviously the sort of hours you work, and the location you work, and so on. But in essence, at the end of the day, you're sort of not an employee, but actually carrying out work as an employee, especially if you are a very small consultancy. So if you, at the end of the day, you have bigger dreams, you have bigger aspirations from your life, then I see consultancy as the stepping stone for you to develop, to grow, to expand, and in time actually seeking something much better. So for example, the way you could you could see consulting is basically a temporary arrangement, could be for a number of years, it could be just for a number of months, ideally years, in which you gather the right skills, experience, so that when the time comes, you perhaps, either you expand, you get, you get to expand the business to be more than just you. So you have employees in your consultancy, it grows, you get to, perform larger contracts, you have larger clients, and then, you have other people doing the work for you, and you set the strategy, you're, acting more as an investor, obviously in your growing business. Or you could just decide to buy, acquire profitable businesses, again, from the perspective of an investor, and then just free up your time. Have, entire teams taking care of business. You set the strategy, you set the vision, and then off you go. You go and live your life. I guess from this perspective, I think ideally, if your end goal is to have, financial freedom, your end goal is to not work from 9 to 5, trade time for money. I think consultancy, or deciding to go, start work as a consultant using your skills and experience you already have gathered, gained, working in permanent setting. If you are a permanent employee at this point in time, is the perfect option for you. There's so much to gain from working for yourself and building yourself up, building your skills, building your experience, your negotiation, your sales skills, your public speaking, relationship building, relationship management. This is all, these are all skills you can build successfully while carrying on consulting assignments, because with consulting you get to experience so many cultures. Whether you work for a large company or a medium company, usually contracts run from 3 months up to 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, 3 years length, and then you move on to the next contract. So you get to, relatively in a small space of time, you get to experience different company cultures, and you get to learn valuable lessons in terms of what works, what doesn't work, the right positive behaviors you want to have in a company, and the negative ones that you want to avoid or mitigate. And these are all lessons you can take with you when you decide to expand your consulting business, or perhaps acquire existing businesses in your field or other fields, any sector of interest to you, where you have a passion and an interest in. So to make a long story short, yes, consulting is great. I mean, doing consulting work, you could earn 2 times, 3 times your annual salary that you would get in a permanent role. Yes, stress perhaps could be higher working as a consultant, in the sense that in between contracts there is a gap, a time gap, where you need to go back into the market, you need to find your next assignment. So it's a lot of sales process that you have to go through. You identify leads, you qualify leads, you go through the negotiation process, you meet with the people on the other side, you secure a new contract, you start work. So this time gap in between contracts is where you have to have a really sort of endurance and resilience to go through it. And then obviously if you have personal engagements, personal projects that you can pursue in this time, that would make this time in between contracts more enjoyable. So you can have things to focus on, and perhaps a side project, a money-making project, or just a personal project to keep you engaged, to keep you focused. it's a big win. I think for me, looking back, when I first moved from a permanent employment to contracting, I remember there were how many months? I think it were 3 or 4 months from the time I ended my permanent employment to getting my first contract, like actually starting in my first contract. So I guess the first couple of weeks after finishing my permanent role, I was absolutely stressed out. I was stressed out of my mind. I was like, oh my God, it's 9 o'clock and I'm not doing something. I'm not at work. I'm not at my desk. I'm not thinking to myself like I'm not working. I'm must be if I'm not making money, then I must be losing money. And then what am I going to do with my life? It felt like it felt like I was like my work was becoming or was who I was, or let me say it the other way. So it felt like my identity was linked to my job. So therefore, if I don't have a job, then my identity is gone. What a nonsense! But really, I think it must be said. Just expect to feel, perhaps, maybe not always, but at first, if you're for many years you've been having a routine, and then the only time you don't work is when you go on holiday, but then you are within contracts, or you just finished your last permanent employment role, and now you want to start in a consulting role. The first couple of weeks while you're searching for your contract assignment, it's really a whole process of changing your lifestyle. Really, it's a lifestyle change. It's it can be really tough until you get into a rhythm. You get into a personal rhythm. You get to ask yourself, what's really important to me. How can I define, a perfect day for me? Let me go do something that I really enjoy. Let me think about myself, what makes me happy, what it creates joy for me in my life. And then obviously you also take care of business. You do your own, search, for assignments. And then, it's just a different way of looking at life, and you're becoming more in control, like taking more control of your life, which is always an important thing to do. Right. In terms of money, as I said, you do get more opportunity to have to earn more, but at the same time, if you have a couple of weeks to a couple of months in between contracts, that time you have to have a budget saved to be able to cover expenses you may incur, for that time that you may not have anything going on, bringing you money in terms of a consulting contract. So it's always good to have savings. It's always good to be wise, as always, with how much you spend. But obviously, when you have this shift in your life, then you will be more in control of the money, and you'll feel more empowered overall, and it's always a good thing. Now, obviously, in the UK, we've had a major change with this IR35 regulation, which has created which has opened a can of worms, in my opinion, as to the way things are conducted with regards to classifying consultants as inside IR35 or outside IR35. Obviously, I've had situations where large companies, they can't be bothered. They just make a blanket determination that everybody they'll be getting on board as a consultant, they're going to be classified as inside IR35, and then from there you only get a choice of using a PAYE using an umbrella, getting paid through an umbrella or through PAYE. And umbrella type payments are a whole big hole, basically a black hole. They're a black hole. So I try to avoid, and I encourage you to avoid as well as much as you can. Insist for a PAYE, or where possible. Obviously, there are still situations where you can get contracts through a limited company, so you could still continue to use your limited company if you had one set up. But PAYE is also great. With umbrella, what I found is that this it's still under debate right now, and perhaps things will get clarified, and everybody will get on the same page. But as it stands right now, when I get a day rate quoted to me, and they say it's through an umbrella company, I always ask, does the day rate that you quoted me, does that include employer tax as well? Or is it gross and it only includes my taxes as national insurance and income tax as a consultant? If they say the employer tax is also included in that rate, that means and which would be illegal, by the way, you would be left with peanuts. Basically, that's what it means, because you get the employer tax deducted, plus the apprenticeship levy, which is also an employer tax, and then after that you get your own taxes deducted, and at the end you have your taxes, employer taxes deducted from this one day rate, and then at the end you get your net. Obviously, there are ways to to negotiate that, to ask that the day rate is as they call it, is uplifted. Yeah, it's a quote. Yeah, that's what they use. That the day rate has an uplift, so that the employer taxes are covered. But if not, then just go on and find another contract that doesn't require you to get paid through umbrella. That's the short answer. Obviously, there are ways to manage tax. That tax is one of the biggest concerns that consultants have. Whether they pay through a limited company or they pay through, PAYE or umbrella tax, at the end of the day is very important, and it merits all your attention into learning how to reduce that, because at the end of the day you want that money in your pocket through legal means, obviously, or as much of it as possible, working for you, and not going to the government. So I think I'll probably do another video about the tax implications and how you can actually manage your tax properly to your benefit. But for now, I think just wanted to make a quick presentation on benefits and risks for going as a consultant, so moving from permanent employment to consultancy.